can't be on this side because remember I can't do that.
When I was in college, we did, yeah.
If I'm not over here far enough, I'll move some more.
No, you're fine.
No Larry?
Just don't mind me.
It's Wednesday.
Oh, he didn't learn.
I don't even know what day it is.
He's Monday, Thursday.
That's true. What day?
And yeah, and this is it. You four. We had somebody opt out, and so this is perfect. And I'm glad nobody else had to brave the construction. But thank you all for making it. I mean, yeah. Well, I'm going to go and say something after. Might even, call my landlord and say, hey, it's a business. You can't. Yeah.
He said the guy on the street was working swing. I don't know what that means unless he's a substitute for who really does that.
Well, he didn't learn, obviously, from being told about you, so. Oh. Well. Oh, so sit comfortably, everybody. And there's going to be some booming today. I'll tell you, they're digging up the street, right? Did you see that? Yeah. So I'm sorry if the building shakes. I think we're okay. So just get comfortable, and if you're sitting in a chair, just get your feet hips distance apart and parallel. And if you're on the floor, whether you want to stretch your legs out or sit cross-legged, do. Blankets under if you want. Close your eyes and just lengthen up through the top of your head. Let your shoulders release down away from your ears. And feel your breath now coming in and going out through your nose. And if you have a mask on, I know it's a little bit different, but if you can just focus in on imagining you're breathing equally in and out through both sides of your nose. And if you're able to bring the breath into the belly, feeling your inhale come in and rising your belly. And then releasing our hands on out beside us here now. Let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And exhale, let the hands come right down through the midline in front of our chest. And then we'll reverse the arms, inhaling the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, opening the arms on back out and down. And let's inhale both arms straight out from our shoulders and flex our hands here. Just let yourself be easy. Press into the heels of the hands a little bit. And then let your fingertips face down so that you feel the tops of the arms a little bit more. And then just let your hands come into really loose fists and circle your hands around a little bit so you come into your wrist. Just be real mindful. Take your time. Take it easy. And then stop and reverse. Let yourself go the other way with those circles. And then reach into long arms, and let's bring our left arm on top of our right and give ourselves a hug. Let your elbows melt down now. bring your chin down towards your chest. Let yourself release. You know, if you feel like it feels good to let your head come lower and round a little bit there on the upper back, do. And then rise on back up and let your head tilt a little bit to left ear towards the left shoulder or the other way. It doesn't matter. We're going to just switch. And then come up and over the top and let your head come the other way. And then rising on back up, we'll let our arms come on back down beside us. Bring your hands behind you for a second. Clasp your hands. Let yourself feel really open across your chest here. And then come a little bit forward as you exhale. And when you inhale, come on back up to sitting tall. Now you can go as far as you want. So if keeping the back long, you like to go farther because it feels really good in your hips, you can move farther forward and come back up as you let yourself inhale. So moving forward and back with the breath, letting your exhales bring you forward and your inhales bring you back. Feel your feet in the floor. If you're cross-legged, think about the outside edges of your feet gently pressing into the floor. And if you're in a chair, feel the bottoms of your feet pressing into the ground. And then finish the one that you're on so that you can come all the way back up to sitting. Let your hands come undone back there. And let's bring the right arm over the left to give ourselves a hug. So coming to the other side. And again, if you can bring your chin down, do, if that's okay for you. Again, if you want to roll a little bit more, let the head come lower, you can. Don't do it if it bothers your back. And then next inhale, come on back up, chin parallel to the floor, and let's tilt the head one way. Let yourself release one ear towards the same shoulder there. And then come up and over the top and go the other way. And then we'll come on back up again. And this time, bring your hands in front of you. Clasp them here together. And then send your palms forward and out, pressing into the heels of your hands. So be mindful. You know, if your wrists bother you, just take it easy. You don't have to go so deeply. And then we'll come on back. Turn your fingertips down towards the ground. And come forward a little bit. Now, you may not want to put your hands all the way down, but you might be okay to put your fingertips or some tips of some fingers on the floor, right? Might mean that you want to just put your middle fingers. If you're sitting in your chair, you might want to put your fingertips on your knee, right above your knees. So just wake up there a little bit with the wrists. And then we'll come on back and let your hands move around a little bit. We're going to switch the cross of the legs if we were cross-legged. So take your time, bring your other leg in front. And then from here, sit up nice and tall again and bring your arms out beside you. And this time, let's inhale just the right arm all the way out and up overhead. And bend your elbow. Let your hand maybe come down behind your head or to the top of your head if your shoulder bothers you. You know that. Be where you can. And then reach into a nice long right arm up high here. And we're going to come over into side stretch. So left hand, if you're on the floor, gives you a little support. If you're in your chair, you can let your arm hang or you can put your hand in your lap. One more breath into the right side here. And then we'll rise on back up. We're going to lower that right arm down. And we're going to inhale the left arm all the way out and up overhead. And then as you bend the elbow, again, just adjust wherever you need that hand to go. So you feel your tricep. You're getting into the back of the arm. You're not forcing anything. Just let it feel really natural. And then we'll stretch that left arm back up overhead and coming over again into that side stretch. So again, depending on how you're sitting, you can use your hand for a little support. So take your time, breathe into that side you're stretching. And then we'll rise on back up. We're going to lower the arms on down beside us. And now let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And let our exhale bring our hands right down together in front of our hearts. And just have a couple of breaths here to center out in your seated mountain. Enjoy feeling your breath coming in and going out. And then we'll unfold our arms on down, shake out, whatever you need to. We're going to come around towards either hands and knees, or if you don't want to be on your knees, grab a blanket or be up with your hands in the seat of the chair if you'd rather, okay? So, sometimes that makes a difference. The other thing you can do if being on your hands bothers you is be on your forearms, maybe even on blocks or on the floor. And instead of being on your hands, you can be on your forearms so that when you move through cat-cow, it might feel a little bit differently, but you're still letting yourself find a lot of movement through the spine there, right? So just enjoy feeling the tailbone be the first thing that you move, and then imagine just traveling up the spine from there. Just be easy. Good. And finish the one that you're on or that you're moving into there. And let's come on back to a more neutral spine. Just let yourself reach back through your tailbone. Let your head kind of be in line with your spine if you can. And then we'll step our left foot forward and our right foot back to come into lunge here. So your hands can be any height that feels good. So you can switch the height of your blocks if you need to. You can use a chair. If you're home, you can use a coffee table if you want. You can even be up high with your hands on the back of a chair, remember. So adjusting where you can be, let yourself find that length through the whole back of your body there. Engage your low belly a little bit. And we will switch to the other leg. So whatever feels good for you, however you want to switch, take your time. Remember, you can come into hands as fists or hands, fingertips on the blocks of the chair or the floor. Or you can come down to flat hands. And then just let yourself, again, lengthen out through the whole back body here. Good. We are going to switch legs again. So once you get pretty set in your stance here and in your alignment of your lunge, if you want to lift up your left hand or forearm, up to your thigh, you can. That's up to you. And we are going to switch again. So again, that alignment where you're on really narrow railroad tracks, so you have that base of support in your lunge. That's why sometimes it might feel good to lift the right hand or forearm up to your thigh. Maybe not, but if you can. Good. And we're going to step forward from here and come on into standing forward bend. So feet hips distance apart and parallel, and put some support, whether your hands or forearms are on blocks. See if you can put support under your hands or forearms and shift a little bit forward and back on your feet. So you lift your heels up, you come to the balls of the feet, come back to the heels down, lift your toes up. You can even lift the balls of the feet up if you want, but you can just at least lift the toes. So shifting forward and back, and let your knees be bent a little bit so you're not stressing anything here. Feel your feet. And then come on back down to centering out there so that you feel your toes lightly just coming down to the floor. You feel very balanced between the heels and the balls of your feet. And just imagine your arches lifting up away from the floor. And come into your breath. Nice, easy, full, deep breath. Let the weight of your head help you release into really more space in your spine. And one more nice, full, deep breath. And then as we bend our knees and bring our hands to our hips, we're going to rise up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts. So adjusting into your mountain pose, whatever feels good to you, letting yourself come on into feeling again very balanced between your feet. And let yourself start to, as you bring your gaze forward and out, remember it can be eyes opened or eyes closed. If you're dizzy, it's probably better to keep your eyes open. Let yourself imagine you're looking out towards where the horizon would be. And feel length now in the back of your neck and throat. Let your shoulders just release down away from your ears. Enjoy coming into that mountain pose. And as we unfold our arms now, right down beside us, we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, bend our knees and come on forward into standing forward bend. And on your next inhale, find a nice flat back, whether you want to put your hands on your shins or your thighs or your blocks or your chair. And we'll step the right foot back to come into lunge. So finding that lunge again, draw those shoulders down. Engage your belly. Imagine you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet. And we'll come into downward facing dog pose. So take your time. Remember, if your hands are on the blocks, you can almost, as your heels come to the floor, you can almost have like no wrist creases, right? Same thing if your hands are on the floor. That's what you're endeavoring to do. You're endeavoring to let yourself reach back through your sitting bones, find length in your spine. And on your next inhale, come on out towards a plank. Take your time. If you need to come to your forearms, do. Let yourself come into feeling your sitting bones, reaching for your heels. And we'll come on back into down dog from here. Nice. So take your time. Feel your elbows softly hugging inward. And we'll bring the right foot forward to come into lunge this time. So whatever you need to do to get back into that lunge. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. Now, be really mindful. If your back bothers you, use support. Elbows above the knees is good support. Hands on the blocks or forearms on the chair. So just be mindful, feeling how your back feels, but just really enjoy letting that sense of the torso being forward like this in your forward bend help you just find a release in the backs of your legs. And then we'll bring our hands to our hips. We're going to bend our knees and rise on up and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts. And let's unfold our arms beside us here now, and then clasp your hands again behind you like we did earlier. Clasp them together. Now, just leave your palms apart, though. Let the fingers just be interlaced. Take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, come on forward. Bend your knees so that you're really getting out of your back. Come parallel to the floor. Look straight down at the floor. So you're really letting yourself find a long spine. Reach back through your tailbone and out through the top of your head. One more inhale. And then on the exhale, if you can fold farther forward, do. And if you need to release and put your elbows above your knees or put your hands onto a surface, do. Okay? If you're all right to let your arms come off your back up there, you can. You can release the arms off the back if you're comfortable to do that. Not everybody's shoulders will do that. And then we'll release, let our hands come on down. Let your next inhale lengthen your spine. And we're going to step the left foot back and come into lunge. Good. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So once again, your down dog is yours. How you need to be with your hands. If your hands are on the floor, you are endeavoring to be like an upside down V, right? So that you reach back through your tailbone, through your sitting bones, elbows hugging in. And on the next inhale, we'll come on out towards that plank. Again, you can come to forearms. Totally up to you. You're more than welcome to do a little push-up if you want to. Let yourself enjoy finding that core strength. Beautiful. We're going to come on back into down dog from there. And this time we will bring the left foot forward to come into lunge. So you can put your right knee down if you need, or whatever you need to do to get back. And then we'll step back into standing forward bend. And then when you come into your forward bend, really let your arms do whatever they want. You know, sometimes your hands just want to go somewhere. If they want to go to your back, put them on your back. If you want to put them behind your legs or elbows above your knees, or sometimes clasping your hands at the back of your head feels good. You don't want to pull like you're trying to pull your head off, but that can be a little bit more of a release for the spine. So just nice, easy breaths. And then we'll let our hands, again, come back up to our hips, bend our knees, rise on up, and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's release the arms beside us now. Inhale your right arm all the way out and up, and bend the elbow like we did earlier when we were sitting, right? And this time, bring your left hand behind you and let your palm face out away from you. It can stay low. Whatever feels good. You can kind of send your hands closer together if your shoulders like you to do that. No, it's not necessary. And then we'll just unfold both the arms back down, and we're going to do the other side. Left arm is going to come up overhead. Bend your elbow, put the hand down, and then right hand again comes behind you. So the palm is out, right? If you want to go a little further, hands towards each other, you can. Just be really mindful. It's really especially the right shoulder in this that you don't want to exacerbate anything. So just be where you can. And then we'll unfold again, both arms on down beside us. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up. If you're able to look up a little bit, do. And on the exhale, we'll bend our knees and come forward into standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find that long back. And we're going to come into down dog from here. So if you need to let yourself release back and come onto your forearms, more like kind of like a dolphin, you're more than welcome to do that. And then on the next inhale, we'll come on out towards that plank. Once you're in that plank, if you want to add a back bend here, you can or not. You can come down to the floor and come onto your forearms and do a little sphinx. Or you can come through for an up dog or do a little cobra. Not necessary to do a back bend here, you know that. And then we'll come on back into down dog. Take your time. If you need to walk a little bit in your dog, be mindful. Just let yourself release. Try to release your face. And on the next inhale, we'll come back out to plank. Again, it is totally optional to add a back bend here. You can, you don't need to. If it feels good, you can do a cobra, a sphinx, up dog, and then we'll make our way again back into that downward facing dog pose. And this time, let's bring our left foot forward to come into lunge. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. Easy breaths, full and deep. Feel the ribs expand. As you inhale, feel the ribs expand in all directions. Let your breaths even out if you can. Maybe even letting your exhales extend out to be a little bit longer than your inhales. And you know, sometimes it's really fun to picture your ribs when you're breathing like this. You can just, if you can imagine a picture of the bones, right? Kind of like an accordion feeling. And we're going to, from here, bring our hands up to our hips, bend our knees, rise on up, and we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So if you need to adjust, find your mountain pose, do. And see if you can, once you get your feet just where you like them, bend your knees a little bit more than you usually do. Not really deeply, but feel your tailbone and play a little bit here. Imagine you're curling your tailbone forward. And look what happens to your whole spine, really. And then see about exaggerating the opposite. Reach way back, like you have a sway back, right? You're reaching your tailbone way back, and you feel that. It's not very comfortable. And then see if you can feel your tailbone dropping down towards between your heels. And then pressing into the feet, drawing the thighs upward. Remember, it's not locking the knees. But if you grow upward from the feet by feeling the thighs engage up, hips just want to come over ankles, shoulders over hips. Feel your hands gently there together. In fact, let's let our pointer fingers come apart a little bit, and then let them come back together. And then let your middle fingers just separate a little bit. It's not big. And then softly let them come back to meet. And now your ring fingers a little bit. And then they come back together. And now your pinkies just a little. And they come back. And now your thumbs just a little bit apart. And then back together. So spread the fingers a little bit. Feel that connection now through the hands, through each finger. And then we'll go ahead and release our arms on down and shake out. If you need to move through anything at all, do it. Shake out a little bit. And we're going to come into some warrior poses. So I'm going to flip my chair around. We're going to come into warrior one first. So have your blocks handy here at the front of your mat. And we'll all step forward towards the front of our mats. And then we're going to step our right foot back for warrior one. Now, you might want to step less. You might want to step 2 feet back or 3 feet. You might want to step your feet way far apart. But the idea is to keep your shoulders square. That back foot is turned out maybe 20 or 30 degrees. So if you're in a long stance, sometimes your hip pointer's not going to come around. You don't want to force anything here because that can put a lot of misalignment in the knee back there. So if you need to shorten your stance, do so that you feel comfortable and you feel equal between your feet. The right leg is long, the left knee is bent. And then let your hands come to meet in front of your chest. Feel your shoulders over your hips. And then we'll unfold our arms on down beside us. And let's inhale the arms forward and rise them up into a wide V. So separate your arms, maybe even a little bit wider than you usually do. Turn your pinkies towards each other. And then send your hands forward a little bit. So you feel that sense of you're not tensing your shoulders up at all. It's easier sometimes when they're forward than if you draw the arms back by your ears, right? So if it feels better to stay forward with your arms, do it. Feel the gaze rising up a little bit. Feel the sense of being balanced between your feet. One more breath. And then we'll lower our arms on down beside us. We're going to straighten the front knee out. Now we do want to get our hips square, so you might have to adjust this back foot. And we're going to come forward into pyramid pose. So feel your thighs lifting up. Let your hands come down when you're ready, whatever surface you want. You can be up high. If you have a chair there and you want to be up on the back of it, you can come down towards the seat. You can come down to your blocks, right? And if you need to adjust your stance a little bit, do. Whether it needs to get shorter or longer. Feel the thighs lifting up towards the hips. Really enjoy feeling that length through both sides of your body. So your spine is very lengthened. Good. Now, if any of you want to go ahead and fold forward over that leg, you can. That is totally up to you. If it feels good to do that, you can just bend your elbows a little bit and fold forward or not. Good. And then we'll come on back up so we're more parallel to the floor, longer spine again. And then from there, just bend that front knee, step your right foot forward, get your feet right underneath you. And let yourself stay in your forward bend for a breath. Feel the weight of your head. If you need support, use it. And then we'll bend our knees, bring our hands to our hips. We're going to rise on up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And we are going to release to the other side. So shake it out a little bit and turn around. But let's step to the front of our mat again. And this time the left foot steps back. So, when you step into Warrior One, if you need to widen your stance a little bit, do. It's like you're on very narrow railroad tracks, right? Sometimes people would rather line their heels up. That feels better in their hips. But take your time again for the length to get your shoulders around square. Get yourself hands to your heart for a second and imagine that you're just zipping up the front of your body, right? Shoulders over hips. Beautiful. We're going to release our arms on down and inhale the arms all the way forward and up. Again, wide V. Bring them forward a little bit, even if you don't usually. Turn your pinkies a little bit towards each other. And then once you feel like, it feels like my arms are just releasing, growing out of my back, you can bring them up higher. Maybe you decide you want to, maybe not. You can bring your gaze up if you choose. Feel that lift in the belly. Feel the feet equal in the floor. Simple, very strong pose. Warrior One. One more breath. And then we'll release our arms on down, and we're going to straighten that front knee out. Again, now you're trying to get your hip pointer square to the front of your mat. Both legs are straight. Come on forward. When you're ready to put your hands down, again, you can use any surface you want, higher or lower. You can adjust your stance, too, if you feel kind of cockeyed, which that happens sometimes. Get yourself adjusted, and then feel your thighs lifting up towards your hips. Really feel that sense of making space in your knees, really. It's like you're taking stress away from your knees by using your thighs to lift upward. And then you can decide if folding forward more over your leg is a good idea or not, right? You can stay up. You can bend the elbows, fold a little over, or not. Good. One more breath here. And then if you were bowed forward, let yourself come back up more parallel to the floor and bend that front knee. Step your left foot forward. Get your feet right under you. Adjust yourself there. And from here, let your hands come to a surface if you can, your blocks or your chair, and walk your feet out towards the outer edges of your mat. So you're still on the mat, but you're still parallel, but you're a little bit wider. And then bend your knees a little bit. Put your elbows above your knees and let yourself just release into a nice long spine here. Good. And then let your hands come on your thighs right above your knees and bend your knees as you press on up to standing. From here with your feet wide still, and bring your arms straight on out from your shoulders. Let them come a little bit higher. So you've got yourself a little bit wide. Hands are out from the shoulders. Let yourself reach out through your fingertips. And then feel those 5 points. The tips of each hand and the top of your head and your 2 feet. And then we'll let our arms release on down and walk your feet on in. And then see if you can start to swing your arms a little bit. Oh, this mask is a bad one today, so it keeps coming up. So let the arms do what they naturally want to do, like wrap around you when you go to one side. So your arms really literally, once you start the momentum and you go from side to side with your torso, the arms are just kind of following along because that's what they naturally want to do. And it really releases the shoulders, the arms. Even feel your hands relaxed if you can, right? Good. And then we'll stop on back at center. We're going to come into Warrior Two this time. So again, if you have your chair there and you need it, you can put your hand on the back of the chair. We'll step our right foot back. And whether you have your feet 2, 3, 4 feet apart, doesn't matter. Line your heels up for Warrior Two. And then look at your left knee and make sure that left foot is parallel to the long edge of your mat. And then from here, let's let ourselves bring our arms overhead into that wide V again. Turn your pinkies towards each other. Again, if you need your arms forward like we were before, you can be forward. And then turn your palms away from each other. Backs of the hands look towards each other now. And as you lower your arms down, turn your gaze to look right out over the top of your left hand. Feel the feet in the floor. Reach out through the fingertips here. Feel like you're very balanced in the body here, even though you're not at all symmetrical, right? And let's turn the left palm up. Put your right hand down on your right hip, and let's inhale the left arm up, breathing into that side. And on your exhale, coming on into your side angle. So your left hand or forearm can be on your thigh. And you can decide if you want to add the right arm at all up into this pose. You can keep the right hand on your hip. You can bring the arm up so that it's in line with the right side of the body, or you can put it straight up from your shoulder, your hand straight up from your shoulder. So you find where you're able to be. Good. And then we're going to come on back into Warrior Two. Press the feet away from each other, get you right back into the core strength of this pose. And then we'll bring our hands down. We're going to turn our feet more parallel. If you need your blocks for a wide-legged forward bend, grab them. We'll come on forward. And once you get there, adjust your stance if you need to. As you start to let one knee bend and then the other, if you need to let your stance come a little bit less or a little bit more wide, do. And then see if you can slowly make your way back into center. Whether your knees are bent or straight, it doesn't matter. And get to where you're comfortable to be in the pose. Maybe letting your elbows support you above your knees. Maybe using your blocks underneath your forearms out there in front of you to give your spine length, right? Or maybe you like to go ahead and fold and let the top of the head release towards the floor. So just be mindful of letting yourself come into the pose with your breath. So now, again, starting to focus on the ribs. Feeling those inhales, expand the rib cage. See if you can let go of your face, your jaw in particular as well. Good. One more full deep breath. Now, how you rise up from here, that is up to you. You can let your feet come closer together if you need before you rise up. And if you are dizzy, just stay with your feet wide a little bit or touch, hold on to a wall or something if you need to. Shake it out. Move through your feet and your ankles, right? And we're going to do the other side. So we'll come into right foot forward, left foot back into Warrior Two. So remember, the heels line up. The right foot is about parallel to the front edge of your mat, and that knee bends not further forward than your ankle, but coming over the center of your foot. And then just be mindful as you start to rise your arms up into that wide V again. Turn your pinkies a little towards each other. Remember, arms can be forward. Don't let your shoulders be at a place where you feel like it feels good to have your arms up, right? And then turn your palms away from each other. And as you lower the arms down, turning to look out over the top of your right hand. Bringing your gaze right out over the top. Feeling again that strength of this pose. Feet equal in the mat. Equal energy from your feet all the way up through your legs into your hips. Nice. We're going to turn the right palm up. Put your left hand on your hip. And inhale, reach up towards the sky. Breathe into the right ribs. And on the exhale, we'll come into side angle. So remember, it can be your right hand, your forearm on your thigh. Adding the left arm is totally optional. Putting the hand just to stay on your hip is fine. Or letting yourself bring the arm up to where you're okay to be in your shoulder. So if you want to use the arm a little bit, but that coming up into line is not in your shoulder, don't do it. Good. One more breath. And then we'll come on back into Warrior Two, pressing those feet away from each other as we come. And now let your hands come on down so you can turn your feet again more parallel. And as you come forward, grab those blocks if you want them. So bringing yourself on forward. Now this time you go ahead, bend your knees one at a time, as long as that's okay for your knees. And then see if you can come back to center and walk your hands way forward in front of you. I mean, you can be on a block, that's fine, or 2 blocks. But see if you can let your hands come forward, and then imagine your heart just melting a little bit towards the ground. Knees can be bent. Knees can be straighter if that feels good for you, if it's a nice stretch in the backs of your legs. But you'll feel your shoulders. It's kind of like doing a down dog, only with your feet really wide. And then we'll bring our hands on back, or our blocks on back, and let's shift to the right or walk our hands to the right towards our foot. Now, you don't have to go all the way. You can shift your block a little bit to the right, or you can bring yourself all the way over to hold on to that right ankle if you want. See if you can bring your right hand to your right hip. Maybe even roll your shoulder up towards the ceiling, right shoulder up a little bit. And then we'll bring the hand back down. We're going to walk our hands back. And we're going to go to the left. Again, you might just want to shift a little to the left. You might want to walk all the way over towards your foot, ankle. Left hand to the left hip. That little twist of rolling the shoulder up is optional. So if you can do that, do. And then we'll come on back down with the hand. We're going to walk back into center. And now, again, you adjust. If you need to get a little bit wider or less wide in your stance, do. Start to grab what you need. If you like your head on a block, if you like your forearms on a block, let yourself be where you can stay with your breath without feeling any kind of sense of discomfort, right? So it's very easy to be in the pose. And very easy just to be with your own breath. And see if you can find those little spaces between your breaths. So when you inhale deeply and you feel that little space before you exhale. And the same thing, as you get to the end of your exhale, you feel that little space before you inhale. In and out through your nose. And we're going to slowly now walk ourselves on back out and up. So again, if you need to adjust before you get up, remember too, when you're breathing deeply like that and you're upside down or you're forward like that, you can get dizzy. So take your time if you do. Shake it out just a little bit. And we're going to bring our mats into a wall from here. So let yourself bring your mat all the way in. And grab a block. I think you have room there, Helen. Because we're going to use the wall to our backs. I think you probably fit just perfect in that spot. We're going to do a little half moon. So we're going to take our block in our right hand and find a space at the wall where you have plenty of room, and we have plenty of room today. So, Trudy, you might want to use that wall just for this, and then because we're going to grab our block. Well, you don't really need your mat under your feet either. You're just going to come into half moon. So you can just kind of put it wherever you want. Let your hand come under your shoulder. You don't necessarily have to be standing on your mat. In other words, find a spot and then get your right foot parallel to the wall. So you're standing on your right foot. Your left foot comes up behind you. And everybody knows if this is too much on your hip, don't do it. This is a huge hip opener. To lay back into the wall with your top arm up or down. is a big hip opener. Flex through that back foot. So you have some energy in this left leg, and your toes are slightly angled down. Not a lot. I mean, you just don't want to have your toes up like this because nobody's hips open like this, right? And then you can just take your time. You can stay looking down. You can look straight out. You might even feel like, oh, I want to turn to look up. I'm not sure that's comfortable for some people, not for others. Yeah, don't do it to hurt your hips. Do a 3. Put both your hands down and let yourself stay with your toes facing down. You might want both your blocks. And we're going to come on up, and we're going to switch and go to the other side. So, getting that left hand right under your shoulder. Again, you can be on fist, you can be on fingertips. You don't have to put a lot of weight into this hand. You do probably need a little weight into the hand to get your balance. Yeah, just watch out for the plug there. That's it, Susan, you got it. And then again, you're facing the toes just slightly down. This hip you're standing on is into the wall, so you're supported. There you go, good. And take your time. And just breathe. And then we're going to release. We're going to stand up again, okay? And we're going to put our backs to the wall right away and walk our feet out and bend our knees a little bit. So it's pretty easy. It feels good. The wall's right there behind you. You're going to feel your quads a little bit. If you want to feel your thighs more, bend your knees deeper. Maybe walk your feet out further. Bend your knees deeper. Imagine your inner thighs are melting down towards the ground. And then you'll find a little more if you want a little more, but you don't have to go deep. Bring your hands out beside you. Turn your palms forward. Let yourself press the backs of your hands gently into the wall. And you don't have to tense up or anything. Just let yourself feel open across your chest here. Good. You're probably starting to feel your thighs a little bit. So one more breath. And then if you can come a little bit forward, now as you do, you can kind of switch to send your sits bones back. And then if you can bring your elbows above your knees, you've got your sit bones into the wall really. Yeah. And some of you just staying here, it's a relief, right? If you feel like you want to straighten your legs out, you can fold over your legs like you're in a forward bend, but your hips are way back behind your heels, so it's a totally different feeling than when you're standing, obviously. But it feels good to some people and not to others, right? So just be where you can. Let yourself breathe, release into your breath. Good, and then we'll bend our knees. We're going to bring our hands to above our knees so just we can press up. And walk your feet on in. We're going to turn around and come onto our forearms at the wall. Let yourself bring your feet back so you're like in a forearm plank at the wall. You can clasp your hands, send your pinky finger out. Sometimes doing this on the wall like this, I like to cup my hands and let one hand just come around the other fist. So you can play a little bit, right? The other thing you can do is have your hands totally apart and your forearms parallel to each other so that you have your hands on the wall, palms onto the wall, right? And that's a style if it feels good for your shoulders. So kind of play a little bit. Let yourself just enjoy. Press into your forearms. Feel your elbows hugging towards each other. And now bend your knees a little bit. Shift your hips back a tiny little bit. And there's a different angle for your shoulders right there. And if you're like, yeah, well, my shoulders are not doing that, go back forward with your hips and stay in your plank. If you like that sense of just shifting back a little bit, you might even want to walk your feet back further, slide your forearms down more, and shift back more with your hips. This is a dolphin pose at the wall. So a modification of dolphin if you're like on your forearms on the floor. Not everybody's shoulders like it. So by all means, just really pay attention to how your shoulders feel. Good. One more breath. And then walk yourself on back up. Once you get up, turn around and bring your hands behind you. Clasp your hands and just let your arms hang. And see if you can, get your feet where you're comfortable. You can be wider, it doesn't matter. Just get comfortable. Be balanced, though, so you don't have one foot turned out and one in. Get them equal. And then just come into a couple of 3-part breaths. So with your hands behind you, inhale into your belly and then your ribs and then all the way up into your chest. And on the exhale, imagine the breath coming out of the chest and then the ribs and then the belly. And then we'll release and come on down, shake out a little bit. Let's come down to the floor and be on our bellies on the floor. So letting yourself come down and rest for a second. Once you get down there, let yourself bring your hands under your head. Make a little pillow with your hands. Good. And if that bothers you, obviously don't do it. But if you can, let yourself rest there. And once you get situated, if you can bring your feet off the floor, bend your knees, and let your feet circle around a little bit. Releasing there, you can circle both ways with your feet. You can let the lower legs come one side to another, do some windshield wiper blades back there. But some people that bothers their back, so don't do it if it does. Good. And then come on back with long legs here now. Let's bring our arms down alongside our body. And now, your palms are going to face down, and they're not on the mat. Your hands are off onto the floor, okay? And on your next inhale, let your head float up just a little bit. You're still looking down, so try not to lift your chin up and forward. Let yourself look down. Enjoy the weight of your head, which, it's very heavy. And then bring your head back down. And now let's inhale the right leg, if you can, up off the floor. Point your foot. Takes a little bit of focus, concentration. And then lower it down. And now your left leg, lifting up, pointing through that foot. And then lower that leg down. And now as you inhale, bring your head and your hands off the floor. And then as you exhale, lower them back down. And your next inhale, you're going to bring your legs both up off, but keep your upper body down. And then release back down. And the next inhale will bring everything up. Stay here in your locust pose for a breath. Feel your belly engaging. Doesn't have to be high. And then release and come on back down. And let's come on to our forearms with our elbows under our shoulders, coming into a little Sphinx pose here. Let your palms face down. Spread your fingers out. You can even look at your hands. Really spread them out. Feel your fingers into the floor. Don't press hard. It's not tension. It's just like you're stretching your hands out a little bit. Good. And then we're going to bend our right knee and flex our right foot. Flex through the foot. Feel the heel without you reaching back now. Don't use your hand yet. Just pull your heel in towards your buttocks and feel your quad there. And then put that leg back down, and we're going to bend the left knee, flex the foot. Again, really feel like you're trying to pull that heel in towards your buttocks. Engage your belly a little bit. And then we'll come on back down. And now we'll do the right side again. Now, if you want to reach back, you'll have to adjust your left arm so that you can reach back with your right hand to get hold of your right foot. You don't have to do it. It's up to you. And then we'll come on back down. We're going to do the other side. Again, if you feel like you want to reach back with your hand and get your foot, pressing the foot into your hand, you can, half bow. And then we'll come on back, lower your head on back down, bend both your knees again, and let your feet circle around again. Good. And then come back long legs, arms back down alongside you. Now you can come up into a little locust pose again, Or some of you might want to bend both your knees, maybe reach back and get your feet. Come into a little bow pose. Doesn't have to be big. You can be really low. You don't really need to do that. You can stay in the locust. And then we'll release back down. And we're going to come into child's pose from here. Shifting our way back. Big toes together, knees apart. You know what? If you need to stay forward, do it. You can shift more so that you're on your forearms a little bit more with your weight. If your hips and your knees allow you to shift back, do, but just be really mindful. Wherever you want to bring your arms in child's pose is fine. Overhead and soft, or back alongside your legs with the palms up. Breathing into the low back now. So now your focus is bringing the breath into your low back, like you're moving the low back with your breath. It actually rises and falls. Expand sideways, really. And from here, let your hands come by your knees so you can press your way up. And we're going to come on around to sitting. So, if you would rather sit on a blanket, do it. Grab a blanket if you know you feel better to have a little bit of height, to have your legs forward for a second. And shake them out. Just let yourself release, circle around a little bit. And then imagine that you're thinking of sending your inner thighs. And you can kind of shift a little bit like this. And I'm just kind of encouraging my inner thighs to go down towards the mat. That way, your toes don't end up like this, right? Your toes are up, knees are up. You have your sitting bones on the ground. Knees can be bent. If that's the only way that sitting here for you is possible, you can sit in this pose just sitting with your knees bent and supported. You can be up on a blanket. You can let yourself feel like that giant capital letter L, right? So there's a 90-degree angle right here in your hips. So if you feel you're curling here in your low back, your tailbone's reaching forward, sitting up higher can really help. Good. And then from there, just bringing your arms down alongside you, lengthen up through the crown of your head. And as we exhale, we're going to twist to our left. Just a little easy twist. Just let yourself come on around. Feel your right sitting bone drawing down. Make sure your toes are still facing up. But your legs are energized because you're drawing your heels down to the ground and back towards you. Inhaling here. And on the exhale, we're going to come on back around and go all the way into the other direction. Good. Nice. All that space in the spine. Beautiful. One more inhale. And then on the exhale, come on back into center. Let your legs come wider. Now, how far apart you bring them is up to you. If your hips allow you to bring them wider and wider, do. But from here, again, we're still trying to sit up nice and tall. You can have your hands on the top of your knees. You can let yourself have your hands behind you if you need for a little support. That's fine. And coming forward in this pose, man, it is totally up to how you're built. So as you think of coming forward with a long spine, maybe thinking about it is enough, right? Maybe it feels really good to come forward, put your hands down if you want to in front of you, use your hands on your legs if you want to. So generally speaking, if legs are a little closer together, then coming down the legs, even to the toes, might feel really good, right? If your legs are farther apart, well, that's a different story, right? So you have to just adjust with your own body and use what's comfortable for you. So, again, just ease your way, if you can, into thinking of coming forward from the low back. Beautiful. Nice. Doesn't mean it has to be a big movement. Good. So one more breath here. And then slowly keep your legs where they are as you rise back up. Bring your hands behind you and see if you can, like, just walk your hands back a little bit so that you feel your chest coming forward and your shoulders drawing back. Now, I know, again, just be mindful of your own shoulders. Just imagine there's a string attached to your sternum, drawing it forward on a diagonal line up maybe towards where the wall meets the ceiling. And you can feel that openness across your chest as opposed to collapsing into the chest, right? And where you want to look is up to you. If your neck lets you look up, go right for it. If you're like, oh, that's miserable, then keep your gaze more forward or just that little bit up of the chin. Nice. And then we'll come on back. We're going to bring our legs on back in front of us. Bend your knees. And you can round a little bit here. Let yourself just release your head forward. And then we'll come back and walk our feet back a little bit so that we can come into a little boat pose here. Now, boat pose might mean leaning back a little bit and holding on to your legs. Like I like to clasp my hands sometimes or hold the legs separately. That's up to you. And whether you even want to think of lifting your feet up off the floor is up to you. If you immediately feel real discomfort in your back, don't do it, right? And then you can release your hands if you want off your legs. Or you can decide to hold your legs and let the feet come higher and higher and higher and higher. Or do that without your hands or play a little bit with both. So sometimes for me, if I press the outside edges of my big toe mounds together, separate my heels a little bit, sometimes that helps me. But you can play, you can point your feet in this pose or flex your feet. Just play for a little bit more. And then let your feet come on down. Go ahead and round again a little bit. Let your forehead come down towards your knees. And then we're going to come up and come down onto our backs. Now that might mean you want to roll down. Or you might just want to come down, right? If you like rolling down onto your back on the floor, do it. Once you get down there, cross your right thigh over your left thigh, like a woman cross-legged, so that you're just stay there for a second. Flex your right foot, and then draw the legs in towards you, knees in towards your chest. And you don't have to hold them, but you can. You can hold on to either the right knee or the left knee or behind your thigh, that left thigh if you want to. So that you just release your hip here. Let yourself feel the back to the low back releasing into the ground. And then we'll put the left foot back down to the floor. We're going to uncross our legs. And now we're going to cross the left thigh on top of the right. Flex the left foot. And then as you slowly draw the knees in, flex the right foot too. And you can decide if you want to, again, hold on to your knee or knees or your thigh. Oh, that's such a pretty ring. It's okay. It's lovely. Oh, and then slowly bring the right foot down, uncross your legs. We're going to cross the right thigh again on top of the left. Same thing we just did. Bring your arms out beside you, though, now, into a T position. And press into your left foot. Lift your hips up. Shift them to the right, 2 or 3 inches, and put them down. And now you're going to let your knees come over towards the left. Now, when you do, you decide how far to go. You have blocks. You can support with blocks to keep the legs up higher. You can keep your right foot on the floor there to give you support and let the knees just come over a little bit. But just release. If the right arm coming up higher feels good, you can do that. Maybe even turning your head to look to the right a little bit, if that feels good. All of those are just added on, if you like, coming into this twist here that comes up into your hips and into the low back. So be with your breath. And then we'll slowly bring the knees on back up. Go ahead and uncross pretty quickly and shift back to center yourself. And we're going to bring the left thigh on top of the right. That was a big floor shaker, wasn't it? And press into your right foot, lift up your hips, bring them to the left, 2 or 3 inches, put them down. Knees are going to come to the right. And again, this is all optional, right? Add support if you need, so you don't have a lot of weight that makes you uncomfortable in your hip or your back. And then if you want to rise the left arm up higher, you can. You can turn your head to look over to the left if you want to. So really allow yourself to feel your breaths. And then to come up, remember, be mindful as you start to bring your knees up. Go ahead and uncross whenever you want. And then straighten yourself out. Get your spine back aligned. Feet both on the floor. Go ahead and lift up into a little baby bridge pose. Of course, if you'd like to rise up higher, do. But just let yourself kind of even out there. If you want to come into bridge and stay for a little bit, do, or not, right? Maybe you want to move up and down from bridge. You might even want to do a rolling bridge, where you let yourself curl your tailbone up, do a little pelvic tilt, and then roll up through the spine. Really pay attention to how you're feeling right now. And if you want to get a block and do a little bit of supported bridge instead, do that. And once you come down from bridge pose, let yourself bring your knees into your chest and release your back there. And then, without thinking about it, let your body do what it needs. I mean, if your legs need to stretch up long here towards the ceiling, or if you need to do like a Baddha Konasana, the soles of your feet towards each other, if you need to do any kind of hip opening movement here, or it could be anything that you want to do, right? Anything at all. You may feel like you would rather, no, it's fine. You're fine. You're good. It's good for me. Walk around. So maybe you feel like you want to stretch everything long. Maybe you feel the need to do another movement. Remember, it can be a yoga pose or not, right? I'm going to start to walk around so that I can bring things for people here at the studio. If you're at home and you decide when you stretch out that you're not comfortable, you can put something underneath your knees, a rolled blanket or two, like making a bolster, kind of sense of a bolster. Sometimes is good. You're welcome. Also, if you lie back and you feel that your chin is rising up, you can put a little bit of a blanket underneath. You want a little one? Got it. Hold on. You're welcome. So be mindful, and I'm still walking around the studio. Wait for me. You might have to get up and then come down. Okay, now you might want your blanket on top. There you go. Wave at me if you think a bolster sounds good. Got it. So just be mindful of allowing your arms, your legs to soften. I love that. Look like a mermaid. And just enjoy accepting your breaths now, in and out. As the body responds to the breath, because your breath will get quieter and it'll change, but you do start to feel the breath becoming a little quieter, a little more shallow. But just be okay to lie here on the floor for these few minutes, giving your body time to benefit from all you just did. And let yourself find a little bit of quietness as you completely and fully relax. yourself back now with your breath, starting to allow your breath to come in and go out more fully, more deeply. Letting those deeper breaths bring you back now into feeling physical there on the ground. And when you're ready to move, let your extremities lead you. Fingers, toes, hands, feet. Might feel good to circle your hands and feet around a little bit. Take your time. And you all know you're welcome to roll to either your right or your left side if you're comfortable to come onto your side, and let your knees be soft. You can always use your arm as a pillow if you don't have a blanket there, but sometimes just resting on your side for a few breaths is a good way to adjust, give your body and your brain a little time to adjust. So that when you feel okay to rise up, it feels almost like the next natural thing to do, to come back to sitting so that you can be upright again and have your head up above your heart. Letting yourself feel that length upward. Once you're sitting comfortably, lengthening up through the crown of your head. And just let the eyes be gently closed. Come back to your breath again now. And allow your hands to rest wherever is comfortable for your shoulders. Sometimes turning your palms upward feels good for your shoulders. Or you may want your hands to come more to the midline or separate out. Just be easy. Feel that sense of openness across your chest. Feeling your hips nice and easy in the way you're sitting. And on your next exhale, let your hands gently come to meet in front of your chest. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste. Happy Wednesday. And happy St. Patrick's Day.